Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Frantic Talks Podcast, episode 47. I am your host, Frantic. Along with me, as always, is my lovely co-host,
Grunt.
And we are here to talk about video games.
And junk.
All right, so before we hop into everything, I'm going to get advertising out of the way. If you would like to continue the conversation after you listen to this, as always, you can hit us up on Twitter. I'm at FranticJ3. I pointed in the right way. He is at Onyx, ONYX, Spartan, all one word. And you can hit both of us up, or you can hit the Frantic Talks Twitter account at Frantic_Talks. That's where we'll tweet out all our different articles and podcasts that we post, which we have posted a new article. I'll get to that. Beyond that, which is not on screen because it's on a different part of the website. Speaking of that part of the website, frantictalks.com is the mothership. You can find all our podcasts. It's on screen right now. Or you can head to magic.frantictalks.com or click on the Magic the Gathering link on this Frantic Talks website, and you will be taken to our Magic side, where we write about Magic the Gathering, write about all kinds of fun different stuff there. There was a podcast at one point. It doesn't exist anymore, but it's a fun listen. It's kind of a mini-series. That's the way I like to think of it. Beyond that, head over to facebook.com/Frantic Talks, all one word. That's where we, again, post articles and engage in discussion if need be. On top of that, head to twitch.tv/Frantic Talks, once again, all one word, and you will find us on screen right now. If you're watching live, hello. If not, so every Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern is when we go live with these podcasts. If you are still watching on the old channel, which is Frantic J3 the Third, we auto-host on that channel, so you're still seeing us. It's just it's not actually the real channel. So get over to the real one, subscribe to that, and you'll catch us live every Saturday, like I said. And speaking of subscribing, if you want to watch the video form of this podcast, along with a bunch of different videos that we're going to start doing and are currently doing, head to youtube.com, search up Frantic Talks, subscribe, and you'll be updated on us whenever we go live. Well, not ever go live, whenever we post a video. Once we hit 100 subscribers, I can give you an official URL, and the subscriber count's growing. We used to not really have too many, but it's starting to get up there. So, hey, we might hit 100 at some point, and I can say youtube.com/Frantic Talks or something. So, there's that. Beyond that,
that's pretty sweet.
It'd be pretty sweet. But if you ever want to find us, just search Frantic Talks. You'll find us wherever you need to find us. So,
got it.
That is the easy route. The harder route is listening through everything I just said. All right, anyways.
I like both routes.
Both routes are simple. I was going to come up with a random sponsor, but my drink's empty. So, with that said, how was your week, Grunt?
It's pretty good. Fairly uneventful. I'm still getting over the cold I had from last week. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but feeling better. Most of my time, game-wise, has been spent messing around in Minecraft. Bought that. Messing around in it, building barracks and a few other odd-end structures.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's been picking out and picking up various cards for my commander deck I've been working on for Thraxamundar.
Commander decks are fun.
It is. It's been quite fun putting it together, honestly. I've gotten some good suggestions. Some really cool cards, I think, will find their way into it. So I may write something for the Magic side of Frantic Talks about it.
Seems like it could be fun.
Yeah, potentially. But that's been pretty much it. Pretty quiet, uneventful, getting stuff ready for Christmas.
Yeah, I'd say our week last week was much more eventful with our whole Game of the Year suggestion and all that fun stuff happening. But that's cool. So for your deck, I know I recommended Mortician Beetle. Did you happen to get that?
No? It was one I couldn't actually get.
Oh, that's upsetting. Because it goes real with your commander.
Yes. Some of the ones I picked up for it, they're all in packs. You know what? They're all in a package. So I picked up ones like Rooftop Storm.
Rooftop Storm.
Yeah, that one. That's one I'm actually most excited about because it allows you to cast any zombie creature type for 0 mana, including your commander, I was told. So that's pretty great.
Yeah, it changes the cost to 0, and I believe the commander tax doesn't apply. I'd have to look it up. And if we're boring people with talking about Magic, sorry guys. It is the other half of the website, to be fair.
It is, yes. Put some other stuff in, like Undead War Chief.
You're going zombie tribal.
Pretty much, yes. I've got a few. Picked up Plague Wind. I don't know why I keep calling it Plagued Wind.
Penguin's a good card. Kills
Yeah.
everything that you don't have.
Yeah. Yeah, I looked at adding Damnation to it, but oh man,
Damnation's
$65. That's a card I'm just gonna nope.
It's one of those cards that everyone's screaming for Wizards to reprint. They probably will eventually. Just that's one of them where it's like, oh god.
Yeah, I can see why it's hugely wanted and sought after card, but man,
Yeah. It was
Plague Winds works so much better for me because I don't want to get rid of my creatures necessarily.
Well, the problem is you have to pay 5 more mana to do that. It's
Which
9.
I'm okay with. I'm okay with. So far in my Commander games, I've had all the mana I could possibly want and need.
That's the good thing about Commander is usually you can play costlier cards, and be okay.
Yeah, between all the basic lands I've gotten, several other lands, and a couple mana rocks, those have given me all the mana I want.
And yeah, you should be good. So if anyone's curious and wants to give suggestions to Grunt, he's running Thraxamundar as his first commander. He's in the Grixis color scheme running what sounds like Zombie Tribal. And that sounds like it should be fun. I'd recommend a Death Baron, but I think he's really expensive. So I had one at one point, but he's like, I got him for like $2 or something stupid like that. He jumped to like 18 at one point. I think he's down to like 10, but he basically is Undead Warchief, but instead of like having another ability to make tokens, he gives all your guys Death Touch. So
I've got Typhoid Rats in my just random throwing stuff in there that's got Death Touch on it. It looks, it's a 1/1 card, so it doesn't look like it's going to do anything, but it has Death Touch, and I do like that.
Yeah, that's an effective blocker right there.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, cool. So while we're in the realm of Magic, I guess I should talk about my week. Beyond doing some brewing for a new potential deck, I decided that we would officially, and I'd mentioned this on the podcast before, officially get into the Partner EDH series. So I'm going to click over to the Magic.Frantic Talks website here and just kind of show you guys what I was up to. So the Partner series, which I've highlighted, is a series of 105 articles, I'm not kidding, that we are going to attempt to write over the next year. I have recruited a third person to help us. It's me, my good friend Luke, and a friend from real life. His name is Bob. Hopefully he will be able to help us out in writing these. He was one of the people we played the night that the decks came out. He bought one of the decks and played with us, and he was definitely on board to write some random ideas. So I'm hoping he can help us out, because 105 articles is a lot, of course.
Oh, yeah.
I think we'll have some fun. So I managed to get this out just yesterday. I'll click into it, go scroll through it real quick. I'm not really going to cover too much, but it is covering these two people on screen, Rayhan, Last of the Abzan, and Ishai Ojutai, Dragon Speaker. They are from the Atraxa Commander deck. They are two partners that go well together. They both like +1/+1 counters, and I decided that would be the theme. So to give a quick overview, it's really about what gives some good +1 counters, so some pictures on screen here, along with stuff that doubles counters. And then we're going to change up the style of the deck and go into what's called Persist, which is just making your creatures come back with -1 counters. And the cool thing about +1 and -1 counters is they cancel out. So you can effectively keep these guys reoccurring as long as you have some way to give them a counter. And there's a lot of ways to do it in the deck. And there's some really degenerative combos in this that I realized about. One of them being Glenalandra Archmage, which is on screen, that just basically reads pay a blue and counter anything that isn't a creature. And you can just keep doing that with how I built this deck. It's really bad. So beyond
it's really
that,
bad,
though,
but in a good way.
Yeah, in a way that it's like, oh, you can do a lot of stuff. And then the only thing I'd have to say is I did mention Damnation is pictured on screen, by the way. Damnation is a good one you want to run, but, $65, which I mentioned, and I linked to our budget EDH board wipes, which is another article I wrote, where you could pick out some board wipes that aren't as expensive as Damnation. Really, all of them were under $1 when I wrote it. So those are much cheaper than the ones pictured on screen, which are around $4 or $5, or Damnation, which is $60. So beyond that, that was the first one we did. I don't know how in-depth the articles are going to get. This took a week and a half to write, but that was because I sent it through the equivalent of a paper shredder reviewer. We rewrote this 2 or 3 times, And oh man, there was so much stuff. But it was a lot of fun to write, and I'm excited to continue this series and get some articles back up on the Frantic Talks Magic site. Because that's one that we aren't going to do as many videos with, or probably any, unless it's like just a live stream of us game playing, if we ever do something like that. The problem with Magic videos is it requires a lot of heavy editing in terms of software and stuff. Something I don't have time for in the moment. Oh yeah, and adding graphics. To which the current point is just kind of using open broadcaster software for me and putting graphics on screen and doing clever edits to where it doesn't seem like where it seems like I have something useful when really I'm just using Windows Movie Maker. And I'll openly admit that. I think I make decent quality videos with Windows Movie Maker, but eventually I'll get to a better realm of editing. But
you heard it here, folks. The secret to YouTube success is Windows Movie Maker.
Really, it is. I mean, success is a broad term and also not accurate, but you know.
Man, I'm trying to help you here.
No, anyways, I mean, that was most of my week. Playing Magic, talking Magic, watching some videos. Some new spoilers came out from the latest set, the little early Christmas present, when they aren't supposed to start till I think the new year. They're all pretty crazy cool. And then on top of that, I did a lot of Rocket League this week, and I had some friends over last night. We played a bunch of games. We played this game called Thief Town. I don't know if I've talked about this before, because I don't remember when we had people over, but this game called Thief Town's a lot of fun, and I would recommend it if it was much better with controllers, and I'll get into that in a second. But the idea of the game is you're all little, like, cowboys who are trying to find each other and stab each other, and it seems kind of simple in concept until you start playing it. So, you're all on the same screen, and you all look the same. And then there's roughly 10 to 15 AIs that are populated in that look exactly like you. So there's this mass conglomeration of people on screen that all look the same, and you have to pick out which one you are in the crowd by moving around, and then pick out your friends and stab them. And it's on a timer, and then eventually items are added into the mix to where you can shoot people or make everybody drunk to where if they try to stab you, they faceplant. And it's really, really fun, really funny. And we played a lot of it. But what I meant was with the controllers, so I actually have a controller in front of me right here. I was just playing Rocket League. So this is an Xbox 360 controller. If you've never seen one before, I'd hope you have. So interestingly enough, when you play the game, you get to bind your own controls. So I could make A walk forward. Well, it's a side-scrolling game. So A could be walk up, Y could be walk down or something like that. The idea being if someone tries to look at your controller to see what direction you're moving, you could trick them. Now, that's a little rough for me because I'd try to react quickly and screw up and like hit left or right when I'm trying to go right or left, depending on the situation. But for some reason, the game, it doesn't recognize about half the buttons on the controller. So we have to bind it to where the buttons, your X, A, X, Y, B, have to be your directional pad. It doesn't know the directional pad exists. And it doesn't pick up the triggers. So if we're trying to stab, we have to use the bumpers and use the items that way. Luckily, those are the only buttons. There's only 6 buttons, but that's really the only buttons it recognizes.
Interesting.
So that's a little weird, but I mean, it all works out in the end. And I think it's just a bug, because I played the game before with an Xbox 360 controller at a friend's, and it worked fine. So I think it's just a bug with the game currently, or potentially with something I use. So that was part of most of my week, really. Magic and playing some hilarious games last night. So, using my Steam Link. I don't know if I mentioned I got a Steam Link.
I'm not sure if you did or not.
Well, a Steam Link is just a way to stream games from your computer to another screen. So, for instance, I have a very big screen TV in my living room where I plug in... I can't really plug in and play PC games on it, even though it's a much better monitor than, say, this 1080p monitor in front of me. And since I have a good enough graphics card, I'd want to play something at better quality. So I can stream to my TV by using the Steam Link. Now, the only issue is this is on Wi-Fi, this desktop, and it should be direct Etherneted for maximum efficiency, and every now and then there's a hiccup in the connection, but it's not like every 5 seconds. So it's tolerable. It's just eventually I'll want to run like an Ethernet cable. It's going to look really bad. Just a big-ass cable running all through my ceiling and stuff. But other than that, that's basically been my week.
Sounds like it was a fun week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, beyond the articles I found this week that I wanted to talk about. So we kind of have like a central theme on this episode. It was rather unintentional until I realized how much information came out this week around one specific topic. So we're going to talk about that topic, and that is the Nintendo Switch. So I have technically 4, but 3 articles here that discuss the Nintendo Switch. The first one the first one I found that mentions GameCube Games. So your Nintendo Switch will be supporting GameCube titles. reportedly. And that means that it's going to be played through like a virtual machine or an emulator. So kind of how how the Xbox One plays Xbox 360 games. It's through an emulator. It's not actually just playing it with the hardware.
Right.
So that's usually how these work. The backwards compatible. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
That's pretty cool, actually, that they did that, because I know a lot of people love some of the games that were released on the GameCube.
I mean, there are a couple that come to mind immediately that are like classic GameCube games, like your Super Smash Bros. Melee, Legend of Zelda, Wind Waker, and then there's Star Fox. Which Star Fox was it? There was one I don't remember. There's Sonic Adventures 2 or Sonic Adventures, one of the two that a lot of people really enjoyed. Resident Evil 4. There's a lot of really good games for the GameCube that will be nice to be able to play them if you have the original disc. I believe at least that's how it says. So, of course, it's all reportedly, but it's still really interesting in my opinion.
Yeah. Be interesting to see what games they do bring over.
Right, if it's not all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing to note is everybody gave Xbox One hell for not being backwards compatible when the PlayStation 4 would be, and then they eventually caved and released an update to do the emulator that they could have done, and they released and all that other stuff. It's just like a lot of people want to be able to play their old games. They don't want their games to be obsolete.
Right.
That's the kind of the beauty of like PC games, as long as they're built right and they aren't locked into the certain operating system. Like Doom for Windows is only good in Vista and below. Not the latest Doom, but like older Doom games, like it can only play up to Windows Vista. And it's usually like a simple patch that they can release to get it to work in later versions like Windows 10 or 7, but I can't play Doom, the original like Doom 2 or whatever, on my PC because it only works up to Windows Vista, which I don't have Windows Vista, never will. But it's just people want to be able to play the games that they purchased a while ago without, some people trade in their game systems to get credit towards getting a new system. I personally don't do that because of the emotional attachment to my game systems I have, but people will do that, and it's here and there, but at the same time, they still want to be able to play all the games that they have sitting around. They don't. Sometimes it's hard to part ways with stuff that you've built memories with. I know it's hard for me. Like I'm gonna keep my original 360 for the longest time. I had the first 360 I got, that Red Ring of Death. I kept that for 2 or 3 years after I got it replaced. Granted, I took it apart and just had the shell, like not the actual shell, but the inside parts next to my regular 360, so I could see what it looked like while I was playing it. Essentially, was the idea. But I eventually threw it away. It took a lot of willpower to do that, but I still have the other 360 that I had, and I probably will not get rid of that for a long time. The original Xbox is hiding somewhere, I imagine.
Oh, I just put my original Xbox in my closet to my right here. As a matter of fact, a few weeks ago.
Really?
Yep.
Nice.
I don't know if it still works. I don't have a TV that it plays on anymore. So
Yeah,
that's the unfortunate part, but...
Your what is that? Your RCA cables that you would need?
Yeah. Yeah, because the TV I have now only has HDMI on it, so
right, and RCA to HDMI is not a real easy way to convert stuff. So
yeah,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, but luckily, a lot of the games that I own for the original Xbox are backwards compatible on the 360, which still works.
Yeah, there you go, HDMI, man. Or
yeah, there we go.
That still had a RCA. No, what did it have? VGA.
Yeah.
Yeah, VGA. So.
Yeah, VGA or AV.
Yeah, AV, that's right. So, okay. Well, anyways. Beyond that, let's move on to the next report that...
Now that we've taken a brief trip down nostalgia lane.
Yeah, now that we've gone down nostalgia lane, let's talk about the mobile versus not mobile part of the Switch. So if you are familiar with the Nintendo Switch, if this is like your first time hearing about it or you're not understanding exactly what it is, it's a hybrid console. It can be played sitting down like where you're at now at home, or if you want to take it on the go, you can. That's how it works. So it's kind of like almost like an iPad that can plug into a hardware and play on your TV is really the only way I can think of simplifying it beyond that. And if you want to see how it works exactly, just check out the reveal trailer. It does a really good job of showing it off. So everyone's really wanting to know and understand the hardware, and they have yet to release any information. The speculated date on when they will release a lot of the information about the Nintendo Switch will be January like 13th in that realm, because that's when there's this big Japanese like tech show or whatever. But anyways, they did say that the Switch dock, which is where you would plug it in to, hook up to your TV, it will increase its performance, but it's not hardware related in terms of there's no extra hardware in this dock. It just kind of like charges it and plugs it in. So the basic thing, the way to look at it is, in my personal opinion, the reason they do this is because running really powerful high definition graphics will destroy a battery that the battery you charge. So they dumb down the power of it so you can play it on the go. It may not be the craziest of high definition. Maybe they go from 1080 to 720. Just numbers I'm throwing out there, not official or anything. So they can save power and you can get the most playtime out of it without really losing too much of the experience. So
Right.
that's my opinion on it, honestly.
That'll be interesting to see exactly how that is affected. Since they said it's not affected by extra hardware. So
Right. Yeah, to me, it's just when you unplug it, it probably knows to dumb things down a bit because there are graphical settings in games. I mean, normally on your, especially what?
Especially for PC games.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say is, console people aren't too aware, and I don't mean to single console people out. If you just
Totally
haven't,
mean it.
I totally mean it. If you haven't experienced PC gaming, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just there are certain things you wouldn't know about unless you played PC games. And that's how much graphical fidelity you can increase or decrease, or how much control over the graphics you have. How consoles work is it just kind of simplifies the system. You jump into a console game, it boots up, you start playing, you don't worry about any settings, you learn the controls. In PC, you can set your controls, you can change how much texture you can see, how far you can see, and it affects your frame rate. So that's something that you typically have control over, and I imagine the games that the Nintendo Switch will be putting out are going to have something like that, if that is the case. To where you will literally just unplug it and it will know to go from ultra high to just high on your graphics, or it'll shorten the rendering distance.
Yeah.
Probably something like that, I imagine. So it'll save battery life and make it easier on you when you're taking it on the go. So that way you get, 4 or 5 hours of gameplay or however long it'll be compared to 1 hour or something like that. All random numbers I'm throwing out, again, have not confirmed any of this beyond that's how the dock is going to work. So
yeah. Question is, can I run Crysis at ultra settings?
I don't know. I hope you can.
Man, not gonna lie, that'd be pretty sweet if somehow it kind of did, but realistically speaking, it's not gonna happen.
Realistically,
because
yes.
those settings were like crazy high.
Yeah, that's a good point. But anyways, speaking of ultra high graphics and all that other stuff, there's a lot of speculation as to how this will compete with the Xbox One. Will it be Nintendo's step into the more hardcore gaming realm where they get people who have been playing, I don't know, like Dishonored or something like that? Will it be able to get people who are really into gaming more for the games than they are for the culture around them? Not to say Nintendo is that way, but when you look at the games that they have, like Pokemon, Animal Crossing, Legend of Zelda, these games are notable because of the characters and notable because of everything that surrounds them, I'd say, more than the gameplay itself. Legend of Zelda might be a little of an outlier, but when I look at Nintendo, I don't see hardcore gaming. I do see gaming, don't get me wrong, but I don't see it in the realm of, the guys who will sit down and marathon through a game and, do streaming. That's not something you normally see unless it's like Super Smash Brothers. So with that being said, I'm going to go to the next article that talks about the games that have been revealed, supposedly leaked, and a rumor that Dark Souls 3 could be on the Nintendo Switch because the guys who developed Dark Souls 3 reportedly said they had it running on the Nintendo Switch. So it's also something along the lines of all 3 will be available in like a trilogy package, but more to the point, how powerful is this goddamn console if it can run Dark Souls 3? I imagine it's not going to be top of the line Dark Souls 3 graphics like maybe on the Xbox One, but I can't imagine it's far off.
Yeah, really. That's interesting that it can run it. really makes you wonder if it can supposedly run all these games. Why hasn't Nintendo announced at least some of the uh, technical specs for it?
Yeah, that is a very good question, and it leads you into two different trains of thought, in my opinion. Either you're worried that it's not going to be powerful enough, or they're just making you wonder and making you talk about it to get hype built.
Right.
And I'm gonna lead towards it being the second option because of how they distribute amiibos. So, well, actually, not even amiibos. The Super NES, that one they sold on Amazon not too
Oh, yeah.
long ago, where everybody bought it and then sold it on eBay for 10 times the price. Nintendo is, I don't want to say notorious, but I can't think of a better term, for building hype around something, releasing it, and then not releasing enough of it to where there's ridiculous demand. Secondhand market starts selling it for crazy expensive, and then they release more of it or ample amounts of it, even though they knew how much there was going to be. They did that with amiibos. Amiibos were really popular when they first came out, and they released a very limited supply of them. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, I need an amiibo," and they all went out for sale for like crazy high prices. And then they went and Nintendo then eventually was like, "Okay, we should probably release more." Now you can find amiibos anywhere, anytime, any day of the week. So I think they're using that same strategy of make everybody speculate, build the speculation, get free publicity out of people just talking about here's what we think it's going to be in the Nintendo Switch,
Oh, yeah.
instead of just giving that information away and then building all the hype to this press release or whatever it is they're going to do it around January at this convention 2 months before the console comes out, and then they'll be like, "You guys have been waiting. Here you go. It's got this is its specs, this is its battery life." And I'm gonna guess it's all gonna be pretty fair. It's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, that seems right." It'll probably play Skyrim remastered. It'll probably play Dark Souls 3 at a pretty decent level. It's not Xbox One S level. We can't compare it to that, but shit, man, it can it's equivalent to the consoles that came out in 2014 probably. That's where I'm gonna guess it's gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good, safe guess, I'm assuming. I'm saying,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's just hard. It's hard for me to guess on something like that because I really just don't know. I don't even know where to start, you know?
I wouldn't either.
I mean,
But
you look at it and you look at the claims that it can run Dark Souls, possibly all three of those games, Skyrim even.
mhm.
Um,
It's
but
not an
then you
easy
look at,
feat.
yeah, you look, wow, that's really cool, and it'd be really nice if I can pull it off. But then you actually look at the Nintendo Switch in the pictures, and you're like, that doesn't sound right. How can that run that?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm very, very curious and anxious to see exactly what the specs will be.
Yeah, as we all are, I'd say at this point. So,
Yeah.
uh, well, I guess not speaking of specs, but moving on to our last topic here. Well, when I saw all this information, it was also around the same time the Nintendo Switch got its first debut, and
And where was that?
it was on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Now, regardless of how you feel about Jimmy Fallon or well, we're going to talk about Jimmy Fallon and Conan O'Brien, really, is where this topic's going. Just to let you know. But regardless of how you feel about late night shows and all that other stuff, they debuted the Nintendo Switch. It was really cool to watch them play that. And you got to see the new Legend of Zelda game. And what was really cool about that was they showed off a lot of the stuff that everyone's really excited about. And they showed render distances that were crazy far with some pretty good graphical fidelity. And apparently, like these render distances, you'll have to watch the video to really get what I'm talking about. But it was essentially, if you see it on screen, you can get to it, was their statement, which is awesome. It sounds like it's going to be like a big open world Legend of Zelda game, which is crazy cool.
That sounds nice.
But anyways, they debuted this, and regardless of how you feel about Jimmy Fallon, you have to wonder. And I'll just read the head title of this Polygon article. Has gaming become too much of a shtick for late night television? And this article brings up some good points. And to give you the Cliff Notes version, it's basically Conan O'Brien has his Clueless Gamers segment where he plays video games not knowing too much about video games. One would wonder how many times can you play video games for an hour-long segment, or not an hour-long segment, but a decent length segment, and still be clueless about them, a couple years later. But anyways, he plays through this segment. he plays through them, and usually he's cracking jokes and having fun with it. Jimmy Fallon he gets to play stuff and clearly knows how to play games, and he's talking about how excited he is. But Jimmy Fallon, you could argue some of his hype and some of his excitement's always really fake. And that is what it is. But this article is really asking, is it too much of a shtick in the way of, is it really going to be on the same level as film and television? And it should be, in my opinion. But, we talk about film, we talk about TV, the stories, the quality, all of that. We talk about it, and usually in a high degree. When a movie comes out and makes a ton of money, we talk about it in every way possible when you think about it. And video games can make that same amount of money in one outgoing, and they tend to take a lot more effort than a movie, depending on how the movie goes. Like a drama movie that doesn't have too many special effects is definitely lighter on the cost compared to Destiny. But at the same time, the cost to make the Avengers is probably on par with Destiny or something like that.
Right.
But late night TV seems to still be stuck in the pre-gaming era. And I don't mean that in the sense of 1970. I mean it in the sense of gaming is still the nerds who really enjoy gaming. That's what they are saying. And I guess we could talk about whether we agree with that or not. And my personal opinion is it's not that gaming isn't fit for TV. It's that the late night TV guys are not advancing. They're not understanding what gaming is. Even with someone like Jimmy Fallon who understands gaming. The Conan O'Brien one's a better example because he usually cracks jokes about the stereotypical gamer or something like that, typically. That, to me, is just the hosts not being original enough to come up with, I don't know, better jokes. It's easy to say make a funnier joke, but at the same time, when they aren't doing anything funny, and their funny jokes are just old jokes or old stereotypes, take it with a grain of salt. But I mean, I feel like I'm just rambling at this point, but in reality, I think what it really is gaming could be talked about in a mainstream level. There's an eSports division of ESPN, for God's sakes. It can be taken. I had to take my car and get it fixed, and I got my mom's car who has satellite radio. I had it over the past 2 days, and I was listening to just NFL talk radio, and there came a commercial on for the Bleacher Report where every weeknight or every Wednesday or something like that at 6 o'clock they have an eSports talk show for 2 hours on satellite radio. It's not that we can't be. Yeah. It's not that we can't be on late night TV. It's that late night TV just isn't coming up to par at this point, I think.
Right. I think a lot of it is just they're trying to make fun of it, yet trying to not. I don't know. I can't necessarily say that they're trying to make it not catch on in mainstream, because it kind of already has. Gaming has. For many decades, a couple decades it has, at
Absolutely.
least. But like you said, they're still trying to play it out as it's the nerdy thing to do, the old stereotypes of it back then. Right. So,
when it comes to that, some might say that I'm offended by this or that I should just learn to take a joke. And I'm fine with making nerd jokes or gaming jokes. I don't want to say self-aware, but at the same time, I'm not going to take offense if you call me a nerdy gamer. I take pride in I take pride in someone calling me that, truthfully. But it's just, I don't know. A lot of people watching late night TV don't tend to play video games, I imagine. There's probably a decent amount, but usually late night TV, I would argue, is targeted more for an older demographic. Granted, the average age of the gamer is in the 30s, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the realm. It just seems like they're still out of touch, even with the hosts that currently are hosting it that are much more in touch, I guess is the best way to put it. I mean, Conan's been around forever, but, you got your other shows with Stephen Colbert, who I think he just understands everything. I love Stephen Colbert. Jimmy Fallon, what is he, 40 maybe? He's right in that age group. I don't know. Just to me, it just seems like they're out of touch with something they really shouldn't be. And it's not that gaming isn't fit for it. It's just that they aren't fitting it the way it should be. That makes sense?
Yeah. You could also say that they're not really in a roundabout way, they're not willing to accept gaming as part of pop culture now.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, I think. Because, I mean, you can only be so ignorant to it until you get to the point where you just don't accept it.
Right.
So, I think that's a good way to look at it, too. Well, anyways, that's about all I can say about it, honestly, without rambling and repeating at this point. But I'm sure we'd love to hear your guys' opinions. Do you think that it's become too much of a shtick, or is it more so the angle we're attacking it at, where it's not gaming itself, more so late night TV not understanding it? Because I honestly would truly argue that gaming is in television in every way possible. But then again, TV has proved to be outdated and not understand how to be up to date with a lot of things. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, I definitely. Another thing you could even say is maybe they're trying to appeal their audience to a specific, or their viewership to a specific audience. Maybe they're wanting to make the people that actually look at games as nerdy things, and not wanting to accept it as being popular amongst quote unquote normal people. That sounds horrible, I know, but that's the best I can think of right now.
I feel like that's accurate. I would honestly say television's typically targeted towards people over 30, probably over 30, maybe over 40.
Yeah.
They're the people who grew up with TV, like just having it. And I'm not saying I didn't grow up with TV. Clearly I did. But that I wouldn't say that's the golden age, but that's the best way to look at it.
Right.
We're moving into a point of streaming, where that's kind of like the thing. Netflix, for instance. I kind of like what's the right word? I use that as our advertisement. Sling TV, where you can stream cable instead of having an actual cable subscription. Everything is moving away from. It's all cutting the cord, is what they call it. It's all moving into the digital world where we can watch it on our computer screens or stream it through a Chromecast or through a Roku. It's all moving towards that. And I think there are a lot of TV channels and shows that still aren't understanding that and are still holding back and trying to keep everyone back. With the biggest holdback being the NFL. They're the whole thing. They're the only thing keeping cable alive, in my opinion. Or at least cable subscriptions. But even now, I can get NFL subscription stuff through like my streaming. So I don't even give a shit.
Technology is changing.
Technology's changing, yeah, and that's the thing is, what's the saying? If you fail to move with something about changing tides, like if you fail to move with the tide, you'll sink or something like that. I don't remember exactly the statement, but that's the same idea.
Close enough.
But I think that's what this really is. Late night TV is just a victim of that, and if they don't change, they'll alienate people if they haven't already. And I'm sure people are alienated by some of the stuff that happens.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to probably end it. Do you have anything else to add?
I do believe I have said everything I could say without confusing everyone.
Yeah. Anyways, what did you guys think? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. Like I said earlier, what do you think? Is it gaming? Is it TV? Is it some middle ground? What is it? I'd love to hear your opinions.
Is it maybe nothing at all?
Yeah, is it maybe nothing at all? Is it just society and entertainment being the way it is? Love to hear your guys' thoughts, as always. It's a conversation more than it is just us yelling at a microphone. So beyond that, I'll move into advertising here. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Nintendo Switch is awesome. But anyways, if you want to continue the conversation and answer the questions we asked, head to Twitter. I'm at FranticJ3. He is at Onyx Spartan, ONYX, all one word. And at Frantic_Talks is where you can talk to the official Frantic Talks group, I guess, which is more than just me and him, but you get the idea.
It's the Twitter mothership for us.
Yeah, it's the Twitter mothership, and we will definitely respond to stuff as a more formal entity, is the best way to put that.
I'm not formal.
Anyways, head into facebook.com/Frantic Talks, all one word. You will find our podcast and articles posted there, and you can also comment and talk on there. We would love to engage with the conversation. Might even talk to you on our personal Facebooks, although we might not. Who knows? Beyond that, head to frantictalks.com. That is our mothership, our main hub for where we post all of our articles. magic.frantictalks.com, either via URL or clicking on the Magic the Gathering link on the Frantic Talks website will get you to our Magic the Gathering articles, one of which I just posted and spent part of this episode talking about. So if you're interested in that, head over there. We should be posting stuff pretty regularly from here on out. Beyond that, man, I use that phrase a lot. You head over to, I really do, and I'm kind of mad at myself, twitch.tv/Frantic Talks, all one word. Every Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, you can join in on the conversation in Twitch chat. You can talk to us while we're talking, and you'll hear probably your name shouted out if we're talking to you on the episode in permanent recorded history.
On the internet, where it never disappears.
On the internet, where everything, never disappears. Wow, my camera just got really blurry. Okay, there we go. All right. Other than that, youtube.com, search Frantic Talks. We don't have an official URL. Subscribe, and we can get you an official URL. Although at that point, you won't need the official URL, but the people who want to find us will get a official URL. Don't be so selfish, guys. Think about the children. After that, you can head to you can head to iTunes, search for Frantic Talks. Really, that's the moral of the story. Search for Frantic Talks. Odds are you'll find us. And all of this information can be found on the Frantic Talks website, either via each podcast posting or in the footer. I think it still has all the up-to-date information. It's been a while since I updated the footer. Forgive me if it's wrong. And I think
it has our Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, right. And then if you click into a podcast, you can get literally everything about the podcast. The YouTube video, the Twitch channel, and you follow us on like SoundCloud if you really wanted to. That's where the audio comes from. iTunes link, it's all in there. So really, the Frantic Talks website, big source of information if you need to find everything. Should put a YouTube link into the bottom. Oh well, I'll get to that.
I mean, I brought up a couple weeks ago that our About section is totally out of date by like a year, so...
Right, I did change my description, and I don't think I changed yours because I read over it and thought it was fine, as in it didn't reference any old information. Mine personally referenced old information, and that's why I was like, oh, that needs to change.
I might go and update mine anyways.
I mean, you got access to that. Go right for it. All right, we're rambling. Anyways, guys.
We are. We
like I said, continue the conversation on Twitter. Let us know your thoughts on everything. Are you excited for the Nintendo Switch? Because I sure am. I'm really looking forward to it. I think I'll buy it the day it comes out because that's in March and I got time to save. But beyond that, I got to buy a PlayStation before that. Woo! I'm gonna do that at some point. Okay, I'm gonna stop being stupid. Remember, Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern. You can catch this live, talk to us, have some fun. We'll update you on our Christmas schedule next week because I'm pretty sure that's around the time we'll have to start talking about it. But anyways, guys, I'm Frantic.
I'm Grunt.
We'll see you guys next time.